that memory works most of the time. I don't know how many more times I could have said that in this paper. Memory works well most of the time. I'm not claiming, I didn't claim at any point that memory is inherently unreliable. So one of the responses from Chris or Raphael that said that set up this false dichotomy of the Gospels aren't totally reliable, but neither are they totally unreliable. That dichotomy didn't come from my paper. My point was that memory theorists' studies show time and again that the person who holds the memory that they have cannot distinguish themselves between the reliable and the unreliable ones, and we at a distance are also unable to distinguish between them. And so memory works a lot of the time, but we can't tell when it's working and when it's not.
But you can create a scenario, if there's a scenario where there's going to be high distortion or low distortion according to memory theory.
I think we need to define also, in memory theory, distortion does not refer to some type of qualitative assessment. I'm not assuming that you think this. It doesn't refer to a qualitative assessment, like there's a pristine accuracy and then it's just memory is distorted from it. Distortion refers to the interpretive frameworks that are there that are necessary for the articulation of the past. In any case, so the point is not necessarily, in reality, there's when we're talking about the Gospels, there's no such thing as non-distorted tradition. Not just the Gospels, period. It's all distorted.
But that can't be used as a cop-out either, because some memories are clearly vastly more distorted than others.
But that's true, and that's why the theory itself doesn't answer that question. The other issue is that early Christianity didn't happen in a laboratory. So what's most important is to talk about how the transmission actually occurs in the places where we can observe it.
And there's more to this. And there's more to the story about the way that memories are distorted.
I think.
You want us to respond?
Yeah, but other people have got questions to ask. So, keep your questions short and your answers short, if this is humanly possible.
An excellent example of distortion of memory is a German book, Opa doch kein Nazi, but the grandpa was not a Nazi. There are family memories that are developed over decades.
Speak up, please.
Family memories developed over decades about those who lived in the Nazi era that actually when they were, informing Nazi officials about the Jews, they became benefactors of the Jews in the end of the war. So, my question is about the role of the storytellers and narrators in this process, because I seem to presuppose a situation that Tom Wright describes, that there is a group of Christians and somebody comes there and Jesus says blah blah blah. No. It isn't. It is informed, controlled environment. And there is a sort of passive controlled environment there where everybody seems to know what Jesus said, and there is a positive memory going on. But I think storytellers very often have to reform the traditions they are transmitting. There's a positive impulse in that. So it's a positive thing to tell a story in another way, combine stories and make a new point. And there is absolutely, the first Christians didn't think that as a forgery or something bad. And I think it's quite natural to understand why several words of Jesus have been created and stories have been transformed and created out of nothing. Even that might happen, and I think it's a positive development. And I am rather positive about the historical scholarship to find out such tendencies in the tradition. So, but how would you relate that to the...
I don't know which two guys you thought were assuming Tom Wright's model, but I just want to say that I wasn't.
Yeah, it's all right, because I just posed the question of... because I hear you saying that it's a sort of collective process. And there is a rather good control in that. But once you have a storyteller who carries on with the tradition, right, he has the responsibility to shape it.
Yeah.
So it's not just keeping it intact and telling it in the same way all over again, but creativity is a positive feature for a storyteller. And if a charismatic storyteller, like I think Luke was,
Point taken.
Then he shapes them again. And that's why I think Luke, the source for the author Luke is Luke.
Okay. Point taken. Answer.
We have. I think we have a problem with the understanding of the word collective, because what certainly what Chris and I are saying is not that collective memory is people remembering together, that there are these natural communal controls that when somebody starts to move beyond the pale of what's acceptable, that will get reined in. Certainly that can happen sometimes. Certainly it doesn't happen sometimes, and particularly in the Christian tradition. The point about collective is that even in the creative shaping and development and maybe even creation of tradition, there are patterns and schemes and frameworks in place that the person that the storyteller is not working from a blank slate. There was a car commercial a few years ago in the States where you see a man or a woman and just completely in white. There's no floor, there's no walls, and she says, or he says, or whatever, I'm looking for a car, and then bam, all these millions of cars come up, and then, no, I want a red one, and then we're not working from nothing to create. There are already established patterns and schemes, and so the question is, how can we witness these things that work, and how did Jesus and how did Jesus already function as part of those frameworks to constrain not just the preservation of knowledge about him, but even serve as the impulse sometimes for the creation of those things, as for example, Luke's image of Jesus reading in the synagogue in the pool.
No.
I want to answer that guy's question.
Quickly.
Yeah, I will do it quickly. I want to affirm one of the magic and power of memory is that it does exactly what you said. It reconstructs and keeps it relevant, and it reshapes it, and it's awesome, and it's huge. That's great. But if the historian wants to go back and try to figure out what actually happened, then that becomes a problem. It's not a problem in and of itself. It's the power of memory. But it becomes a problem for the historian who actually wants to know what happened, not how was it remembered.
Fine. Wonderful.
Okay, my question is for Dr. Foster. Thank you. Turn the question on Keith Rodriguez about how, pastoral question. Somebody asks about Matthew, the saints, and the cleansing of the temple of John. So to remove memory theory, the question: how do you answer that question? Somebody's asking a pastoral question. Because as an historian.
All right. I guess to take the example of the dead saints, it's only in Matthew's gospel. It fits, so there's a redactional issue there. I don't see it in Matthew's sources. It fits in with Matthew's apocalyptic worldview. Therefore, I think Matthew has created that event by his theological agenda. I don't think it goes back historically, and I think historical arguments help me to answer that.
Okay, Ronald.
I understand the aspect of performance that there is in memory, but I'm wondering also if the theories that we're working with are not specific to some locations. For example, in different cultures, even today, people can still memorize or remember quite a whole lot about what has happened 40 or 50 years ago with great accuracy. So I'm just wondering if we're not imposing one way of looking at memory to antiquity.
I would say no, because I think the science on memory is showing increasingly that we actually, our memories, not even just ours, but even in the cultures that you imagine, their memories aren't actually as picture perfect, Kodak, as we think, or as they think.
I would just say, I think even that example, picture perfect Kodak, is a necessarily ethnocentric perspective.
That was the claim being made, that
No,
they're
his
remembering
point.
with
That-
great accuracy.
that wasn't
Kodak
his
is great accuracy.
That was not his point, I don't think.
But he said with great accuracy.
But who determines what is accuracy?
He did. By saying it was with great accuracy.
But his point is that in that context, that's understood with great accuracy. I mean, I think that the idea that we can go back and, I mean, I wonder what these people in a lab are actually doing for the type of traditions he's talking about. What is their standard for determining when there was deviation? All you have is the tradition. That's all you can work with.
I think you get where I was coming from.
Bob, Miller.
I love a lot of what's said, but something I'm still missing, that goes back to my traditional roots, is the F word, fiction, right? It's not always a matter of better or more accurate memories, but sometimes gospel writers, like all ancient historians, consciously make stuff up for the sake of the story, right? And I kind of miss that nuance, especially with Zeb and your stuff, that Matthew came down.
How the hell did you miss that from what I said?
False memory.
I used the word manufactured memory.
Yeah, well, that's okay, but that means that I'm not remembering anything, right? I'm making it up.
That's right.
For the first time.
Manufactured memory is complete fiction. That's what manufactured, that's
but
what
what
memory
is it?
is.
But what is it?
No, but that's a cop-out.
No, it's not a cop-out.
It's the postmodern historical cop-out that says it's all made up, so it's all
That's
okay.
not what it says.
All right. Whoa. No, that's Jack.
Hold on, we've got a ridiculous claim on the table.
There will be. But
Think about documentaries, for instance, and this is the problem with categories such as fiction. I can watch a History Channel documentary, and not even about something about Bible secrets being revealed or some slop like that, but something much more recent, such as World War II, for instance, World War II. And I can watch multiple documentaries on this. And I can even, let's say after doing historical research, grant that all of them are very accurate in the information that they present. The fact is that some documentaries are more compelling than others, and it's not just a factor of making stuff up, or that there is creativity in the accurate telling of history, even as there's creativity in the inaccurate telling of history. So it's not a cop-out to say, well, it's all creative, it's all fiction in the sense of fictio, of put together. It all is that, and I'm not using that as a cop-out, but I am saying that what we're questing after is not the unfictio history, the unmanufactured, and documentaries don't do this, and historians don't. And Paul, your answer to Mr. Manette here fails to ask so many of the important historical questions about Jesus, such as, where does Matthew's apocalyptic worldview come from? Why would anybody think that what Matthew talks about was a reasonable thing to be said about Jesus? Where do these things come from? Maybe they don't come from Jesus, but there's still questions to be asked, but you're not interested in asking them because you've decided that this is redaction. I'm done.
all right, one final question, and for the love of all things holy, keep it short.
Terminological clarification for Chris Keith. I'm looking for the distinction between history as construction of the past or representation of the past, and past or event as what happened, what took place. But it seemed like you were using past not to mean what happened, what took place. How are you using past?
Well, as I said in my paper, in most social memory discourse, when people talk about the past, they're talking about the pressure that the past puts on the present, whether that's historically accurate or historically inaccurate, inaccurate past. So even fabricated past still pressure the present. They still form the way people. They still affect the way people form memory in the present.
So you have a threefold distinction between event, what happened, past, what's impacting the present, and the history, the construction or representation of the event.
I don't know about the last part with history, but when I speak of past, I'm just talking about the inherited past. If I'm talking about what really happened, I would use the phrase actual past. And we could have a whole range of debate on how useful that term even is, but I would use it now.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. I'm very sorry for those who couldn't ask questions, but you try looking after 4 unruly children whilst trying